Hi, I'm John Payne with Tejas Ranch and Game Fence. In this video series, we're going to cover many aspects of installing a high game fence on your property. This is primarily geared for new owners and has a lot of useful information that we've gained over the years. We look forward to sharing this with you. This is a high fence. It's very typical. This is 8 feet tall. Many people have the impression that high fences are 10 feet tall. Those are made, but very uncommon. 99% of the fences that we see are 8 feet tall. In this case, it has another strand of barbed wire at the top, makes it a bit taller. It's been determined that a 7-foot tall fence is adequate for most white-tailed deer, and we're talking about containment of deer. So what are the benefits of having a high fence around your property? One of the benefits is that you're able to have a captive herd of animals inside your property. These may be various types of deer or antelope. There's black buck, whitetail, many types that are very common in Texas, fallow, and other African exotics. This fence works for the majority of those animals. The other nice thing about this fence is that it provides a level of security for our property. We've done fencing for many owners whose wives maybe were not fully in on having an 8-foot fence around their property, but once it was in, we saw that they had a sense of security that was so much different than they felt before. They use the perimeter that, for a walking trail, it's great for exercise. So it gives you a definite sense of security. In fact, this fence is used in certain instances for security. It's being used in solar installations, other applications that require security that an 8-foot fence will give. And in the world of security, there's 3 Ds of security, which are deter, delay, and detect. This fence is an excellent deterrent. So we find in many situations where there may be a neighbor scenario or just a busy area, that with the installation of an 8-foot fence, the security concerns go away. It's very effective in that regard. So it keeps desired animals in, the ones that you want to have in your property. It keeps undesirable animals and trespassers out. So those are great qualities of it. It allows you to control what's inside, the type of animals, the type of genetics, the type of nutrition that these animals get. In so many cases, we talk to landowners who are just tired of feeding animals that jump fences just to be killed by their neighbors. Things like that tend to be concerns and tend to be issues that are answered by the installation of a high fence. For a high game fence like the one here, which is 8 feet tall to the top wire from the ground, the way to go for material selection is a fixed knot fence. That's what this is. These unions between the vertical stay wire and the horizontal wires are put together with a fixed knot. The advantage of this connection is that it doesn't allow the horizontal wire to slide up and down. It doesn't allow the vertical wire to slide sideways very easily. It can slide, but it's very, very difficult. What does this do for us? It forms a web that becomes very strong. Each of these wires, and by the way, on this 8-foot tall fence, there are 20 horizontal wires. Each of these wires has a breaking strength of just under 1,300 pounds. so extremely strong. And as you'll see in high tensile mesh wire fences, the fact that the wire is high tensile, it doesn't elongate very much, maybe 1 or 2% compared to a low tensile fence that might elongate 5 to 10% over time. But since this doesn't, the addition of these V-crimps inside the horizontal line wires gives it a stretch or spring effect. And so when the wire is installed properly, it's tied at one end, stretched to the other end, and these V-crimps form a spring action that keeps it tight. During hot weather, cold weather, steel contracts and expands. The spring action of these V-crimps keeps the high tensile wire very tight. Over time, over many years, it does the same thing, it keeps it tight. So distinct advantages here are the fixed knot, an extremely strong connection, as well as the V-crimp. The wires itself is extremely strong as it's high tensile, and this wire is coated with a class 3 galvanization. Older wires, field fences, things that were used and are still used today have class 1 galvanization, many of them. The galvanization on this wire is 3 times as much, lasts 3 times as long. Depending on the climate that you're installing this in, this can last 25, 40, into 50 years. So it's an excellent choice for a fence material. Looking at the fixed knot in the union of these 2 wires, you can see the detail of the wire passing around the vertical, then looping around the horizontal, both sides, back to the vertical, and the knot terminates here. An extremely strong, reliable connection. High game fence comes in a few different patterns. The standard pattern is with the vertical stay wires on 6-inch centers. So we've got 6 inches here in between. Other options are that these are on 12-inch centers, but it leaves some pretty big gaps. The other option is that these are on 3-inch centers, and so it's much tighter. The typical perimeter fence is 6-inch on center here, and then at the bottom you can see that the horizontal wires are tighter. At the top, they're not as dense, so this discourages animals from crossing at the bottom. The spacing here is 3 inches, then it goes to 4 inches, goes to 5 inches here, 6, and at the top, 7 inches. So this makes, there's some economy saving horizontal wires at the top, still doing its job to keep larger animals from jumping over. Right above the top wire, which is right at 8 feet, we install 1 strand of barbed wire too. The barbed wire discourages jumping. Sometimes if a limb falls on it, it just hits the barbed wire, bounces off. The barbed wire itself is very strong, it's high tensile as well. As you can see here, the fence is galvanized, the T-posts are galvanized, barbed wire is galvanized, so it's a completely galvanized system. A high fence is composed of many different components, not the least of which is the structural components that hold the wire in place, that support the high rates of tension of the wire itself. And the absolute best material for that, in our opinion, is galvanized steel pipe. This is high strength pipe. It's extremely strong. It's extremely long lasting. The galvanization matches aesthetically with the color of the fence, but more important than that, the zinc protects this from rusting. Many times the point of rust is right at the ground, and that's also the same point that has the most leverage on it. That's where fences fail. So this pipe is galvanized inside and out, and the galvanization will make sure that the pipe lasts for a very, very long time. Here we're looking at an H-brace. An H-brace is two longer pipe driven in the ground, and then in this case has what we call a kicker. This is a dead man and a diagonal kicker. So when the fence is tied on here and is stretching back this way, the kicker is working to hold it in place here. Kicker actually does quite a bit of the work, and then this structure works together to give a very strong anchoring point for all the fence that's going that way. We put about probably 3,000 pounds, 2,000 to 3,000 pounds of tension on this wire. We're using 2 1.5 ton winches when we do it. We get it to a thickness just by pressing on it, but this is, I can tell, is very tight. And so this structure has to withstand a lot. The posts here are driven 5.5 to 6 feet in the ground minimum. If the ground is softer, we'll continue to drive until we hit hard ground. We've driven posts more than 20 feet, depending on what type of ground we're working with. Anyway, in fence nomenclature, H-brace, kicker, dead man. On ranches, all fences going around the perimeter of a ranch have to cross through draws and creeks and different types of waterways. So how do we cross? We're using a water gap system like what we see here. This is the Float Master water gap system. It's exclusive to Tejas. It was developed by one of the Tejas members, and it works flawlessly. We've got literally thousands of these deployed, and they're really trouble-free, and that's what you're looking for in a water gap. What happens here is water and debris flow through most channels, and the reason that you can't put your fence down into the channel is debris gets caught in the fence, and with the weight and just the energy of the water against that debris, it will push a fence over. Even if it's a strong fence, as strong as our fences are, it'll push them over. So we have to have a way to release the debris that's coming through. This system is designed to do that. It's got a cable here that forms a hinge joint. The belting is hinged off of it. It rises when the water comes through. It allows debris to float under and to pass, and then it settles back down. This is something that is critical in a fence line to make sure that it's buttoned up, that we don't have livestock getting out, that we don't have wildlife passing under it if that's what we're enclosing, and we don't have predators coming through it. That's what this system does. Another key element of a high fence system is to have great gates. Obviously the gates are here for us to go in and out of, taking feed and supplies in. Animals come in and out of them. Gates are typically 16 feet wide, have some degree of predator resistance on the top. On the bottom, you can see on the bottom of this one there's a very small gap to prevent underdigging, and the gates are made to swing both directions on adjustable hinges. This is a high game fence. This one happens to be black. The black is done in the process when it's galvanized, so it's through and through into the finish. It's 8 feet tall. It's called a 2096-6 because the 20 means that there are 20 horizontal wires. The 96 means that it's 96 inches tall overall. And the 6 means that there's a 6-inch spacing between the vertical stay wires. This is a high tensile mesh. You can see these crimps that are done in the mesh. Those are forming a spring action that's constantly pulling to keep the mesh taut. This mesh is joined at every intersection with a fixed knot, which is a very, very strong way of attaching the intersections. We do have another strand of barbed wire at the top. It's about 5 inches above the top, so that's to deter climbing and jumping. Talking about the black fence, a lot of people opt for this because, you know, the color black absorbs light. It doesn't reflect light. And so unlike galvanization, which is typical for a fence like this, that reflects all of the light, this fence absorbs it. And you may be able to see, looking back, when you have a cover behind you, the fence kind of goes away, so it doesn't stand out as much, and that's appealing to some people. It does come at an extra cost because the wire is more cost. The T-posts are powder coated. The pipe posts are powder coated. It's also a very long lasting finish. We have an installation that was done more than 20 years ago, and we've gone to take a look at the powder coat, the T-post, the wire, and it's in remarkably good shape for 20 years of aging. Anyway, this is the black high fence. One more thing to point out. You can see behind us where hogs have been rooting, tearing up the ground, and obviously the fence was a good barrier for them. 100% this fence keeps hogs out. I want to share a story about the importance of maintaining your high fence in a way that predators can't get in. A few years ago, 5 years ago in fact, we did a fence for 2 neighbors that were side by side. Landowner A decided to put predator apron around the perimeter of his property, where landowner B decided not to. In the same time as we finished the project, landowner A bought 5 black buck, 2 males and 3 females. Landowner B bought 8 black buck, 2 males and 6 females. So landowner B had a really difficult time controlling his coyotes. The coyotes were going in and out, and it was really tough for the black buck. So tough that no black buck babies survived. Whereas landowner A had a predator apron and did a good job of maintaining the perimeter, and today they have more than 40 offspring from those original 5 black buck. So this is an illustration on how important it is to maintain a perimeter, that coyotes aren't breaching, and how hard coyotes can be on the survivability of your offspring. So if it's important to you that the offspring inside your fence survive and do well, which I think it would be important to all of us, I would strongly recommend that you consider predator protection on the outside of the fence to help prevent coyotes from digging under. On a high game fence, an important aspect is predator proofing. And we do a number of things in order to predator proof a fence. The key is keeping the right animals inside the fence, and the ones that would be detrimental to them outside the fence. So there's a number of things that we do, like I say. One, you see the wire across the top. It's a barbed wire. That is somewhat of a deterrent. We have an additional strand of barbed wire at the bottom that can be a deterrent for underdigging. We can also put a layer of wire outside. We call that a predator apron. That helps to prevent underdigging. Other options are electric options, which are very effective but require a little bit more maintenance. And the electric options consist of a wire at the very bottom of the fence to prevent underdigging. And then the other thing that we try to prevent is climbing over. And so primarily cats that are climbing over would be bobcats, mountain lions. And we do have them in Texas. We've had them at our place in East Texas even. So they do exist. It is a problem, and they do make a significant impact on your animals. So we'll put one at around 6 feet and then another one at 8 feet. So those are the primary options that we use to prevent predators from coming through or over or under the fence. A real key to success in managing a high fence is to limit the predators that come in and out of the property. When we put a high fence in, we hope that they don't pass through, and the mesh at the bottom of the fence prevents them from coming through, but they'll often dig under. They're used to routes of travel into the property, and when the high fence is up, they can't do that anymore, so they're smart and they'll dig under. Especially in sandy ground, makes it pretty easy for them to do. It's not nearly as easy in clay or in rock, obviously. But the use of a predator wire or a predator apron on a perimeter, such as this, it's a 26-inch wide piece of wire mesh that goes on the outside. It's connected to the bottom of the fence. It's turf stapled on 3-foot intervals, and eventually grass grows up in it, helps hold it down. You really don't see it after that, but it continues to do its job. And when we're trying to maintain healthy herds of animals inside the fence, controlling the predator, and this tool makes it very much easier. What we're looking at here is a pen. It's a breeding pen for fallow deer, and we've got a lot of protection on this pen because it is a small pen, and we want to make sure that predators aren't getting in. It would create quite an issue for us. So here we see a predator wire along the bottom that prevents coyotes from digging under. This is an electric wire. If the coyote tries to come over and dig, gets hit by this, such a shock, he doesn't come back. We've also got welded wire mesh that's closing a gap in underneath the fence. This is where the ground goes down a little bit, and there's a gap. So this welded wire is actually stuck into the ground and then hog ringed to the bottom of the fence. For protection against bobcats or larger cats jumping and climbing over the fence, we have yet another hot wire. This one stands out about 6 inches from the fence. So if they were climbing up and over, they get hit by that. And then if they jump so high that they touch the top, we've got another hot wire at the very top that would get them there. And it doesn't harm them. It's a terrible shock. They don't want to come back. It's a psychological teacher that once they've touched it, they're not going to come back. It tends to be very effective. But with this real belt and suspenders approach, we have not seen any predator issues where we've deployed it. Well, we've covered a lot of things in this video series, and I know there's still many questions when you're planning your own high fence project, and so feel free to reach out, give us a call. We've got a link below if you want to hit that. Check out our website. and like and subscribe. We appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you and helping you plan your new project.